As part of the natural disaster series, we're now going to be talking about planning. As General Eisenhower said in the Second World War, it's not about the plan, it's about the planning. So if you've been part of actually pulling the plan together, working out what to do, understanding the terrain, understanding what needs to be done, then you, as an individual, as a team, will know how to better respond in the event the plan doesn't happen as it was first intended, which is most often the case. So it's really important to be involved in the planning, not necessarily to make sure that you've got a plan that just sits there on the shelf. As always, if you've got any questions as we go through this session, just chuck them in the comments and I'll go through them as quickly as I can. Equally, if you've got questions later on, just chuck them in there and I'll get back to you straight away. So, natural disasters, why do they happen? So, natural disasters happen all over the world. Here's a random sample on a particular day, the type of natural disasters that happens, what's going on. I'll drill down into how you could potentially use this tool to your advantage. So the really important bit in terms of actions and what to do in terms of preparing for that is to plan before it happens, to know where help can be found, to know how to help yourself, and then to rehearse. And basically during this little session, we're just going to go through each of those. Okay, sit back and relax now. We're just going to watch this short video on what to do on 5 of the most likely types of natural disasters that you might come across, and we'll carry on the session after that.
Number 5. Tsunami. Gigantic ocean waves caused by earthquakes and underwater landslides are called tsunamis, and they are up to no good. They obviously arise in coastal areas. No matter if you live in one of those or stay there on vacation, do not wait for any instructions once you feel an earthquake. Immediately escape to a higher-lying area. Tsunamis are so fast, they hit the coast minutes after the earthquake. Remember that tall buildings, including hotels right in the beach area, can provide an excellent shelter. In case a tsunami finds you at sea, stay there instead of going back to the coast. It won't be a safe haven. If you live in an area with a high tsunami risk, it is a good idea to discuss an evacuation plan with your friends and family. Think of a place where you can all escape in case of disaster. Number 4. Flood. Floods occur more often than any other natural disasters and change the landscape dramatically. Remember New Orleans, Houston, and other low-lying areas? They're usually caused by intense rainfalls, which can be long or even very short. Don't try to be the bravest person around and stay in your house once you hear the evacuation warning. Leave for safer, higher grounds with your important papers in a waterproof container. If a flash flood gives you no time to evacuate, and the water is all around you, don't try to swim across it. A river with debris in it is way stronger than you. Worst case scenario, when there is no other way but move in the water, try swimming on your back with your arms behind to steer. Number 3. Avalanche. An avalanche can hit when you are enjoying alpine skiing in a dreamlike location. It is very fast and devastating, burying everything in its way under tons of snow. When an avalanche starts, try to move to the side of the slope as fast as you can. There will be more snow in the center of the flow. To move faster, drop any heavy equipment you have on you. If you can't escape it, try using a sturdy tree to keep you above the snow. Don't let yourself sink. Kick your feet and arms as if you were swimming in the snow heading uphill. In case you get buried in the snow, dig an air pocket for you to be able to keep breathing. Wait for the rescue team to find you, and don't waste your energy shouting or aggressively digging the snow unless you can hear them close to you. Number 2. Wildfire. Wildfires, both natural and man-made, spread at an amazing speed and destroy everything in their way. If you find yourself in a wildfire area, it is critically important to ensure that you can breathe. If you fail to do it, you can pass out in the midst of a danger zone. Use a wet cloth to cover your nose and mouth and escape to safety. Upwind of the fire and in a treeless and bushless area is the safest place you can go. The best option is to find any building to hide in. Remember to leave its doors unlocked so that the firefighters can save you if it comes to that. If there are no buildings, but there is water next to you, get in it. If you can get in a vehicle and drive away from the wildfire, do it. It will give you more chances to save yourself than running away, obviously. Even when the smoke gets so thick it is impossible to drive, do not leave the vehicle. Number 1. Earthquake. There are some areas in the world which are more prone to an earthquake than others. You most likely know if you live in one of those areas. John Anderson and Yuichiro Miyata of the University of Nevada singled out the top American states where earthquakes take place most often. They are Alaska, California, and Nevada. However, earthquakes of higher or lower severity can happen just about anywhere. You might not be hurt by the earth shaking itself, but by the things that fall on you. Make sure your TV set and bookshelves are secure on the walls. Heavy furniture also has to stand firmly on the ground. Picture frames and mirrors do not belong right over your head. If an earthquake starts when you are inside, stay where you were. Experts say that during an earthquake, you must drop to the floor, get underneath a table, cover your neck and head with one hand, and hold on with the other. Your entire body must be under a table. Don't try to run out of the building. The exterior of a building is one of the most dangerous places. If you don't have any tables, try to get as low as possible. Protect your head and neck with your hands. If you are outside when disaster starts, stay in an open area, away from anything that can fall on you. Some rules are universal for most natural disasters. A national campaign called READY was started in the United States to inform the population on how to get ready for and survive in different emergency situations. It recommends having a basic survival kit to provide you with the most important things just in case. Remember, you will need to have enough food, water, and other supplies for at least 72 hours after the disaster. Other supplies include a battery-powered weather radio, flashlight, first aid kit, a whistle, a dust mask, personal sanitation items such as moist towelettes, pliers, can opener for food, maps of your area, and an emergency cell phone with backup batteries.
Okay, so let's take those 4 action points and drill into each one of them. So the first one, plan before it happens. Top tip here, register, monitor and understand what's happening within the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination System. This is a free tool. You do need to register on it though, but it's absolutely free. That gives up-to-date live information of all the natural disasters that's happening all over the world. It's a phenomenal resource. It's provided and funded through the United Nations and the EC, but it's a really good tool. What it can give you is what's happening where. What support is being pulled together? What information do you need to know? It can give you alerts and give you a heads up as to what's happening so that you can actually stay current as to what's going on. If a natural disaster is happening, you can also use it to try and understand where help and relief is going to be done, how it's being coordinated. Really, really useful resource. All you need to do is just to log onto here, register, and you can get that information straight away. Next top tip is to speak to locals. They really understand what's going on. They will know which river floods on a regular basis. They'll know where it's likely potentially for earthquakes or mudslides, or all those sort of things, where natural disasters have potentially happened in the past and where they could potentially happen in the future. Also, it's really important to either be part of the community plan or for you to incorporate the community's plan inside of yours, or to help a community to work out what to do in the event of a natural disaster. At the end, it's all about playing a team sport when it comes to natural disasters and looking after each other. The next one is to understand your terrain. In a earlier video, I've talked about how to use maps, and if you're unfamiliar with how to use maps and compasses, so have a look at that if you've not seen that already or worked that through. And the important thing through this is to try and work out, okay, where on these contour lines is a safe place for me to be in the event of a particular flood or what's going on. And you can use that to try and understand and picture what's going on. These particular images, they were taken from Google Maps and Google Earth, right? You can drill down, you can put the contour setting on there, you can put the terrain setting on there, and then from that you can start to picture, oh, actually, do you know what? That's probably really quite a good place to go. Or actually, do you know what? We were thinking about going down there, but you know what? I'm not entirely sure it is. And it starts minimizing the amount of places you need to start doing a recce. But recceing on working out where you need to go and actually seeing it before it happens is really, really important. Next, you need to understand your options. What if? What is your plan B? In the event something happens, remember earlier I was talking about it's not about the plan, it's the planning. So who's changed in the team since the last time you went through putting together the natural disaster plan? What happens if you can't get down that road? What happens if the place that is an ideal place for shelter actually goes away in a mudslide or something like that? What if? So it's worth having multiple options of what's going on. As part of that, have a chat with what other people have planned as well. So the likelihood is that there would be a pile of different community groups with where you're heading off to, and it's a case of just trying to understand, right, what are they up to? How can you be part of their plan? How can they be part of your plan? Do you come up with a combined plan? And please just don't forget to incorporate communities and other interest groups into one big plan, because the really important thing through this is that everybody just works together. It's all hands on the deck to try and help each other. Where can I get safe shelter? So in one of the other videos, we talked about the importance of survival skills and how to do it. Priority number one was shelter. So where can you get shelter? Have you set something up already? Have you got grab bags? Have you got the ability to create shelter when that goes on? So it's really important to think that through. Equally, the other priority is how can you raise the alarm? Do you have a working mobile phone? Does it have batteries? Do you have a solar charger? Do you have a radio? Do you have a sat phone? Do you have whistles? How can you raise the alarm in the event something happens? The other bit is how do you get to safety? What if the vehicle that you were planning to use to carry all this stuff just doesn't work? Or alternatively is washed away or is broken or kind of like falls down a cliff itself before you can get to use it? How do you move about? Okay, how can you travel from A to B as safely as you possibly can? Just start thinking through multiple ways of actually trying to get to safety that isn't necessarily just using what might seem to be the most obvious choice. The next bit is about trying to work out where help can be found. So there's a great bit of advice here on the UK's government website that you can go through, and through this you can work through a pile of checklists and bits of advice from really experienced individuals on how to prepare for what's going on. But the key bit to take from this is, do you know what? If something big happens, there will be some form of national government support. So i.e., so if you're a citizen of a particular country and something bad happens, your passport country will try and rescue you in some form of fashion. Equally, the local government where you're working will also have some form of rescue plan to try and do that, and it's worth hooking in with the embassies and with the local government to try and be part of the solution. So whether that's you helping out because you've managed to get yourself into safety and you're okay and you can start helping other people, or alternatively, you're hooked into the system so you can raise the alarm so that help can come to you. And this is an important bit. Share your plan. Make sure you share your plan and chat things through. I mentioned this so many times about with the community, with the local governments, and wherever your HQ organisation is, so that people know what's going on. If people don't know what your plan is or what your most up-to-date plan is, it makes it so much harder to try and find out where exactly you're going to head off in the event something happens. So just share as much as you possibly can. The next bit is know how to help yourself. So in one of the other videos, we talked about survival skills. So go through that and just understand, put yourself a survival pack together of various levels of grab bags as we're talking through in that video session. So just have a grab pack that you can actually have. Know how to use a map and compass. That's another video. So please just go in there if you're not familiar with how to use a map and compass, and make sure that you can actually use those in anger in the event something happens. Just go through those. If you're still not entirely sure, chuck in the questions into the comments and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And also remember the survival priorities that we talked about when we're talking through the survival, how to survive a natural disaster session. So those 4 survival priorities. So the next bit is rehearsal. So it's so important to rehearse. So, you know, you can come back together a plan of that will potentially work. You've worked through a pile of so-offs, so what's. Now's the case of, right, okay, how will it actually work? Does everybody in the team know what to do? You might be scattered to the 4 winds when something bad happens, and everybody kind of needs to know what the plan is. So the only way you can do that is to rehearse for everybody within the mission and everybody in the local community that you're there to support. So, as ever, save you some writing notes, or if you want to go through this again later, the easiest way to do is click on subscribe. But that is the planning element of natural disasters. Hopefully that was useful to you.